Zack Snyder confesses that Watchmen is the superhero film he's most proud of, citing its faithful adaptation, despite its lukewarm reception. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Yet, when it comes to Snyder's own preferences for the pieces helmed by him that he is proud of, his choices lie on the lesser-appreciated projects of his career. Surprisingly enough, it's not Cavill's flick from 2013 that the visionary is most proud of, but rather his other comic book-based movie from 2009 that barely managed to make any profits at the box office, Watchmen. Zack Snyder confesses that Watchmen is the superhero film he's most proud of, citing its faithful adaptation, despite its lukewarm reception. Among all the grueling action flicks he has tamed to date, perhaps the one genre Zack Snyder continues to be best known for is the superhero one. Famous for closely collaborating with the DC Universe to deliver fan-favorite masterpieces like Henry Cavill's Man of Steel and ZSJL, the filmmaker has fairly cemented his position in the superverse. This confession came during a recent interview with Comic Book where the 300 director was asked which of his comic book movies he's most proud of. Snyder answered, "I would have to say Watchmen, probably for me, just like the process of adaptation from comic book to movie design, all the things as we went from comic books to movie." Of course, this is surprising to many because the most expected answer among fans might as well have been something along the lines of Henry Cavill's 2013 masterpiece Man of Steel. As the Rebel Moon director continued to admit during the same interview while defending and justifying his choice. "I think Watchmen is like the cleanest and kind of most satisfying transition to adapted material. An R-rated action/sci-fi piece, the Jeffrey Dean Morgan star from the late 2000s was met with somewhat positive reviews, a current 65% critical and 71% audience score on RT, and could barely turn profits from its box office performance as it made $186.9 million on a budget of $138 million, via the numbers." However, there's a very good reasoning behind the visionary's response. Snyder simply hasn't seen a more satisfying transition to adapted material than in his 2009 film. Although the film's box office performance as well as critical and general reviews weren't good enough to deem it Snyder's best work, on the positive side, it still ended up winning a rather powerful ally, Christopher Nolan. As it turns out, even the genius brain behind Oppenheimer couldn't deny the piece's brilliance and felt it should have been released after films like The Avengers. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Snyder's only close director friend offered his perspective on the same in an email that said, "I've always believed Watchmen was ahead of its time. The idea of a superhero team, which it so brilliantly subverts, wasn't yet a thing in movies. It would have been fascinating to see it released post-Avengers." To put it in a nutshell, it seems like two of the most respectable visionaries in Hollywood deemed Snyder's 2009 superhero movie a truly clever yet critically underrated project, perhaps even better than Cavill's dark take on the Blue Boy Scout from 2013. But Snyder's defense can't be denied either. The 2009 flick did have a rather clean transition from a comic book plot to a live-action piece. Plus, if further justification is required, then there's Hollywood's very own mastermind behind the ultra-famous Dark Knight trilogy who himself landed his seal of approval on this movie. James Gunn proves that good things come to those who wait, giving VFX artists the time they need to make Superman soar with stunning visuals. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. This comes as a pleasant surprise as not often do we get to see such a wide gap between the wrap-up and the release. However, James Gunn has a perfectly valid and honorable reason for this: the convenience of his VFX artists. James Gunn is on his way to revamp the DCU, and in under a year fans will know if he was able to succeed or not. On July 11, 2025, David Corenswet will replace Henry Cavill and take over the mantle of Superman. While there is still a long way to go before the film comes out, James Gunn has confirmed that they have already wrapped up the shoot. The VFX crews at Walt Disney Studios even filed to unionize with the National Labor Relations Board, demanding protection from exploitation. Over the past couple of years, a ton of VFX artists have spoken up against the rough working conditions over at Marvel Studios. There were complaints about them being overworked for short periods of time and not being compensated enough for their time and hard work. However, James Gunn has decided to do things in a more appropriate and human way with his upcoming film, Superman. On Threads, a user mentioned the mistreatment of VFX artists who were forced to work with very tight deadlines to Gunn and added how that led to horrific CGI in films. He then asked if he planned on taking a different approach with his DC films. Gunn, who has always been very active on social media when it comes to replying to fans' concerns, wasted no time before explaining his approach. He stated that with just a little bit of research, anyone will be able to see how he has always given his VFX artists ample amount of time to finish their work, resulting in great quality CGI. The VFX crews at Walt Disney Studios even filed to unionize with the National Labor Relations Board, demanding protection from exploitation. After fans came across Gunn's comments on Threads, they were quick to express appreciation for his work in films like Slither and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He then went on to reveal that Superman's filming had been wrapped a year before the release, precisely for this reason only. In fact, DCU's other film, Supergirl, is being handled the same way despite Gunn not directing it. Well, you might not love the guy, especially if you are a die-hard fan of Zack Snyder's work in the DCU, but you gotta admit, he knows how to look out for his employees. A VFX artist himself left a comment on Gunn's thread stating, "Speaking as one of those VFX artists, thank you for being one of the seemingly few not throwing us under the bus and pushing the no VFX / everything is practical bullshit." When another user assumed things could sometimes be out of Gunn's hands when it comes to the studio imposing deadlines, the filmmaker assured them that he always takes appropriate measures to ensure things stay in control. "No. Because I've always had a script essentially finished months before shooting, always completely storyboard, and I've always insisted we be wrapped in time to do quality visual effects. I wouldn't make a big film like that without the proper amount of post-time. Since there is a whole year to go before the release of David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan's Superman, VFX artists have ample time to work on the film's CGI. We hope that this results in some of the most jaw-dropping scenes to come out of the superhero genre. After all, Gunn sure has a lot of expectations to fulfill." User at Caleb_Thullen wrote, "For what it's worth, I just watched Slither a couple nights ago and the VFX still hold up." Meanwhile, at Preston_Williams stated, "Guardians 3 had me gobsmacked and engaged right from the start because Rocket was so obviously there and going through some things. Thanks for giving those VFX people your time and your trust." In his replies, a ton of people were also thanking him for treating VFX artists with such grace and respect. At Jeff Zarinelli wrote, "This is true. Thank you for what you do and for honoring the creative process in our industry. The WIT studio anime that's tailor-made for a Zack Snyder live-action trilogy. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. It is coming to Hollywood's attention just how well live-action adaptations can be made and how profitable they are if they are done right. The Last of Us, One Piece, Rurouni Kenshin, and Alita, Battle Angel are only a few to be named. If the approach isn't wrong, neither would the execution and response. This is also something many are hoping to see with Destin Daniel Cretton's Naruto film. WIT Studio has showcased on many occasions that it shouldn't be pushed to the side in terms of animation and storytelling with how many successful projects it has helmed. From Spy X Family and Suicide Squad Ice Guy to Attack on Titan and Vinland Saga,